Phantom Limb contains themes of mental health, suicide and injury. This is Phantom Limb.
I'm going to do that thing to myself, you know. The bad thing. One of the worst things imaginable. You can't do it to anybody else, but it is, without doubt, the most abominable thing you can do to yourself. Bar none. Need I spell it out? Even saying the words feels like a taboo swilling round your mouth that needs washing away. I could continue in metaphor. I'm, of course, talking about topping oneself. Committing harakiri.
Harakiri? Is that the way you say it? I hear you say. It is indeed. The phrase may have tumbled around our lexicon over time and is now spat out sounding more like harikari, but it is indeed harakiri.
It's easier on our Western tongue to use the rhythmic harikari. Plus, it sounds like a new addition to the Cockney rhyming slang dictionary, but ultimately, it's wrong. Harakiri was a commonly practiced method of suicide in Japan. Disembowelment via a samurai sword, and often decreed by a court as a time-saving device in the place of the death penalty. Oh, there. I said it. Suicide. It just slipped out. This is the kind of pointless trivia that your archetypal taxi driver knows and keeps stored away for slower car journeys, making us perfect team members at a pub quiz. It's a cliché now, isn't it? A humble taxi driver scoops $1 million on a primetime quiz show. Is it an inherent ability to hoard facts and arbitrary stats that give people a proclivity towards pursuing a life of cab driving? Or is it a learned skill, accumulated over years of watching afternoon quiz shows before starting the grueling night shift? I am the embodiment of that cliché. There'll be plenty more where that came from if you stay with me. But you'll only be able to stay with me for a while. I'm running out of time. Harakiri is on the horizon. Frank, the taxi driver, will soon be no longer.
Edinley, Leeds, 3rd of September 2006. Dear our darling boy, Frankie. It's your mummy. I'm all emotional. I'm not sure what's making me feel more emotional either. The thought of you going off to uni and leaving home, or the fact that your big brother has bought you this present. I'm a proud mum to 2 brilliant boys. I hope you don't mind me writing in here. He left it on the kitchen table like the dummy he is sometimes. So I've made it my business to conceal it from you as he intended to. I've also purposely started writing in the middle of the book. That way you'll hopefully not read this for a little while, until you're properly settled over and all, and it won't make you too homesick to think of your dear old mum. Or you'll just flick through it front to back, like I know you probably will, and see it then. I know you too well. It's a sweet idea from our Mick, and he's a sweet boy. He's the doer, and you're the thinker. It's always been that way, ever since you were small, 3 and 5-year-old. He would look after you, and look out for you, and keep an eye on you when I needed help. You were no bother at all, but he stayed close to you, and let me get on with what I needed to around the house. By the time you both started secondary school, I knew you were different, and would go down different paths. Your teachers called you perceptive. I think that's the right word. Well, they called him determined. Makes sense then that he's already shown himself to be a fine engineer in a world dominated by older, wiser men. And that you, my son, are going to go to a red brick university and become the first person in our family to graduate. Of that I have no doubt. It's no secret to you that I cried when you started considering not going to uni and to follow in Mick's footsteps with an apprenticeship instead. Now all that is in the past, and you're almost gone. When you arrive, you'll notice I've put a few £100 into your HSBC account from me and Dad. We've both been working some extra shifts to help you get started in the first term. or semester, as I think it's called. I know you'll need it, as the socialising will be expensive at first. Just don't ask me for any more after that for a while. I'm still trying to catch up from your driving lessons. Love you, son. We're all very proud of you. I miss you already. Mum. P.S. Don't fall in love straight away. I know what you like.
Hove, East Sussex, November 2013. That's the who, Frank, and the what, impending death. The questions remain: where, why, and how. The where is best summarised by describing the exterior of my beloved vehicle, my second home. White, but with panels of mint green. On the side doors is the ubiquitous insignia, Brighton and Hove City Council, with a silhouetted graphic of the famous pavilion in the same green, completed by the unforgettable ascending 6-digit number that can be used to reach us. 204060. Of course, there's a number plate, TR36B96 for your reference. An LED rooftop topper in matching colours, and the model is a 5-door Skoda Superb. Not wheelchair friendly per se, but certainly crutches friendly, as you will discover. All standard stuff. I don't use props or stickers or teddy bears to set my car apart from the rest or make it more memorable. The one small superstition I allow myself is to hang a new air freshener on the rearview mirror every month or so, embossed with the crest and colours of Leeds United Football Club. The curved, triangular badge and flashes of gold and blue take me back to my previous life and act as a conversation starter with customers. Conversations which don't always end well, but I'd rather that than no interaction at all. That's where. Brighton and Hove, the pearl in the East Sussex crown, whose streets and shortcuts I have memorised across 4.5 years of cabin. What about the why? The why will be easier to explain than the how, which, for now, is leaving me quite stumped. Stumped. That leads me perfectly to the complexities of the why. Why is it time to jump off my mortal coil? It's not a rash decision. It all started years ago, before I first contemplated the idea of being a taxi driver, before I settled down here in the south of England. It's a complex answer, but for now, the most straightforward explanation lies in the footwell of the passenger's side of my Skoda, from where I write these words. I've removed my lower limb prosthesis between jobs while I jot down these thoughts. It's on my left side, which incidentally made this new career behind the wheel possible. It's an automatic or nothing as far as I'm concerned. My below-the-knee prosthetic is leaning against the seat. My stump is flinching at the empty space to the left of the brake, where the clutch pedal used to be. The memories of better days, with better company, twitch the stubby flesh as it breathes for a while.
If the rounded, remaining part of my leg had a conscience, I would lift it up now and point it to my right so it could take in the view, to face the sea and shimmer glitter of the water's surface. The car is facing east, towards the old pier, the new pier, and eventually the marina, and then Eastbourne. It's mid-afternoon. The sea is calm today. The waves hush and shush. 30 yards from my parking space, the English Channel is a mill pond.
At last, that's the who, what, where, and why covered. Frank, the taxi driver, suicide, Brighton and Hove, despair. And my arm is almost as sore as my pitiful stump. So for the how, you have to turn the page with me. I've got an ingenious plan to lead me towards Harikiri, and it's going to start in the new year. As 2013 flips to 2014 on the calendar, I'm rolling the leg liner over my remaining limb, flexing my knee and donning the prosthesis.
I call him Wizard, by the way. The attachment. As for my phantom limb, I've cursed that with too many pejoratives to list them all here, and most of them are torture to write or speak aloud. Nevertheless, it won't matter for much longer. I'll write again soon. Newland Avenue, Hull, 10th of October 2006. The lecturers have encouraged us to keep diaries. You know the type. Try to log your mental health status, say a little about the books you're reading, and most importantly, discuss your social life. They asked us to do this during Freshers' Week, but as a typical American studies student, I've slacked off. I'm above it all, journal keeping, am I not? Anyway, I've decided to go against my better judgment and take their advice.
I mentioned this to my brother in an email, and he kindly posted me something called a moleskin from back home in Headingley, which arrived the very next day. Thanks, Mike. The cost of which would have probably amounted to my food budget for the week. What has spurred me on to begin writing, more than the gesture from Mike, is I've met somebody. Or at least I think I have. Or rather, I'm obsessing over somebody. She's on my course and she's on my mind. Her name is Sybil. I'm daydreaming about her now, slouched across our two-seater second-hand sofa in our small student house just off Newland Avenue in Hull. We live in the heart of the student district for the university. On the slender, cracked brown coffee table there is a collection of student detritus. Tobacco bits, cig papers, bottle caps, an ashtray, a lighter, a dirty plate, a black vinyl, Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, and a slug trail or two. Yes, they're here with us, our nocturnal visitors. And finally, our names scrawled during a sloppy, drunken haze. Frank, Chris. More to follow. The oven chips are ready.
More on the car before we get to the nitty-gritty of the how. How am I going to kill myself? If you're going to see this thing through with me, it's worth you familiarising yourself with my surroundings.
You already know the basics. The model, the size, shape, colours, reg number. My fondness for air fresheners, the necessity for automatic pedals. What about the particulars? I have my credentials pinned to the dashboard above the glove box, and it reads as follows. Taxi driver, public, not private, meaning I can be hailed in the street. Licence number TR3SB96. Name, Frank Walker. Walker. Funny, eh? Another conversation starter. Life can be so cruel. Expiration date. Doesn't matter what this says. It should say summer 2014, for that is when I will most likely expire. And alongside life itself, my licence will expire too. This is all pretty tedious, isn't it? Most people know what the interior and exterior of a taxi comprises. Let's get to the interesting stuff.
In the glove box, tucked up with the other documents, is this very journal.
It's Chelsea blue in colour. The size is 13 by 21 centimetres and the brand is moleskin. Only the best will do for these last words. This moleskin journal is my means to an end. By the time the ink stops flowing and the pages turn for the last time, I'll be dead.
Before I have to pull away and continue my late shift on this bright autumn day, let me state my intentions clearly.
I've come to the end of my tether with life, with myself, with humanity, with Lady Luck, with everything. Redeeming moments like the sight of this illuminated coastline are so far and few between that I'm going to give up. Deep loneliness trumps everything. I'm going to give myself 6 months of further living. I'm going to allow the world to prove me wrong. Why not experiment and leave something of interest behind for scrutiny? Perhaps I'll be more useful and worthy in death than in life. After all, who better to report on a cross-section of today's society than a cabbie? Ultimately, I'm going to allow humanity to decide for me. Starting on the first day of the new year, January 1st, 2014, I'll begin logging all significant encounters I have while sitting in this seat. If they warrant inclusion in the moleskin and a place on the tally chart in the back, then that's where they'll be logged. Of course, the vast majority of journeys, the no-talkers, won't befit inclusion. I'm perversely dicing with death, but even I wouldn't let the dice be influenced by these routine drives. No. The significant people, the memorable routes, will be logged, retold with honesty, and allowed to tally up without sentiment or bias towards or against death. On the 30th of June 2014, the columns will be counted and the die will be cast. Oops. Die. Another pun. Will you stay with me for that long? We could stake a wager on it. I'll bet that humanity continues to fail me, and death wins out. I'm open to goodness and generosity and spirit and love. I'm just sceptical that it exists in my world enough to pull me through. We'll have to wait and see. Let the encounters begin. P.S. Fun fact. Moleskin comes from the old paper made from moleskin, but now it's just the name. The French say moleskin. We say moleskin. Naturally. Brynmore Jones Library, Hull, 31st of October 2006. Halloween. Sybil isn't a very common name, is it? It's totally out of the ordinary, actually, for the noughties. This is just as well, because Sybil Skeets, now I know her surname, is seemingly extraordinary.
Nobody I've crossed paths with has come close to her in so many ways since I arrived in East Yorkshire almost 2 months ago.
Nearly 2 months in, and this is only my second journal entry. Shameful. My reading list for American studies, the friends I've made so far, and my student digs are all secondary to the interest I have in Sybil. Typical, isn't it? Come to university to find my fortune and fall for somebody within the first fortnight. I may be totally bonkers, but it isn't without reason. This is what I know about her so far. Sybil Skeets is also studying in my course. I first saw her in the middle of a throng of over 100 other people during our welcome talk. I was sitting 3 rows from the very back with Chris and Liam, studying the new faces climbing the steps to their seats. Sybil sat 2 rows in front of us and 10 seats to the right, and on either side of her were 2 girls who I've since had seminars with, Amy and Sophie. Sybil had shoulder-length, crinkled blonde brown hair with a shimmer of gold, and thick eyelashes that made her look like an adorable fawn. Her skin tone was white, but not particularly pale. She looked as though she still had traces of a suntan she developed on a recent holiday. Or perhaps from simply sunbathing at home. Home for her, I quickly learned, was Maidstone in Kent. Then, when the welcome talk was over, and we'd been advised by the head of American Studies to embrace pretension in all of its glory, I noticed Sybil was wearing flip-flops and her tanned feet were nail-polished with terracotta. People like this don't exist in Leeds. She's dropped from another planet. She stood out above all others. The lecturer's 30-minute speech, the other 100 or so people were irrelevant. Then, 2 days later, we were in the same room for the first time, and I learnt that we would share 1 seminar a week for the first semester. More on Sybil later. But for now, here's my view. The Brynmore Jones Library is the crowning glory of the whole university campus. Well, from the inside looking out at least. I'm sat on the 6th floor, which is the highest of the 4 floors dedicated to quiet study, looking out across Hull to the south and trying to pinpoint the mighty Humber Bridge in the distance. It's all leafy from here. Huge London plane trees line Cottingham Road from the bottom end near Cottingham itself to the top side where the wide, student-filled highway intersects Beverley Road. I'm growing to like this academic area and ecosystem. Hull is beginning to look and feel like home. Brighton Station, 2nd of January, 2014. My first meaningful encounter of the year is with Antonio. Lo and behold, it proves to be a significant encounter for all the right reasons. Antonio was waiting in line at the rank at the front of the station, a touch after 6 in the morning. I'd taken the 1st of January off after working long into the night of New Year's Eve and well into the first new dawn of the year. It was still dark when I pulled in behind a larger cab at the front of the queue.
Before the handbrake was up, Antonio had already reached out and grabbed the passenger door and uttered the following words.
Morning. Gatwick okay with you?
Of course Gatwick was okay. Gatwick was about the best I could hope for. Sitting here in the gloom and watching the litter flicking along the tarmac in time with the wind. Yes, Gatwick is absolutely fine. Antonio dropped her luggage into the boot. A small suitcase, which was helpful because I tried whenever possible to encourage passengers to do it for themselves.
This usually meant everyone could get moving just that little bit quicker, considering the time it took me to swing myself out of the cab and hobble to the rear to help.
Of course, when circumstances call for it, I'd do my duty. And which terminal are we going to this morning?
South Terminal, please.
Nice. Going far?
Yes, to Vietnam.
Antonio was polite, and I knew her name from the off. It was stitched into a worn-out rucksack that she plonked in the footwell in large, clumsy letters. Vietnam? Wow. An early flight too. It'd be worth it when you arrive.
I'm just happy to be getting out of the country. I don't mind early flights. I'll still have a pint beforehand.
I don't blame you. Why Vietnam? I've never been myself. Her accent was southern, but I couldn't make out whether it was Sussex southern or had traces from somewhere else too.
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I set aside some time during the summer to go away by myself in the new year. I was keen on India at first, but then I spoke to a few friends who just kept saying Vietnam, and after doing some reading, I just went with it. I've been to Thailand before, so I'm just going to do as much of Vietnam as possible. It's a huge country.
It was London. I could hear it now in her caffeine-fueled hyper chatter. It's a part of the world that I'm really intrigued by, but I'm yet to go to. The furthest east I've been is probably Turkey.
A silence dropped into the car as we passed over the South Downs and on towards Hicksted and Bolney. There was very little on the road. I flicked between radio channels, mist cloaked as clouds above the fields to our left over the hedgerows. I could already begin to think about what time I'll head home if I manage to pick up somebody heading away from the airport. I might even fall asleep in the early afternoon watching a Vietnam War film. Everything from Apocalypse Now and Platoon to less obvious ones like Taxi Driver, of course. What made you want to get away from the city, besides the cold?
Well, yeah, the time of year has a lot to do with it. It's a combination of things. The nature of my work means I can take an extended holiday. I've been working hard and saving for a long time, with nothing much to spend it on. It's just the best time to go away. I want to put the ho-ho-ho in Ho Chi Minh City.
I know what you mean. I usually go away in February or March. Somewhere less adventurous than you, though. A Spanish beach, probably. The Gatwick light pollution beckoned us towards the growing traffic in Crawley. I've done this journey over 100 times. I'm envious of Antonio. Her adventurous spirit and yearning for world travel is something I used to have. We're sitting behind another cab in a red light, just outside the South Terminal.
It must be tough to take time off in your line of work. It's a self-employed way of life, I guess.
It is. Every day I'm away, I need to work 2 days in the run-up to justify the time off. I wouldn't advise you to seek it out as a career path.
Thanks. I work with coffee. I'm stuck with it for life, I think.
In Brighton?
Yeah, I've got my own coffee shop.
Nice. Where is it? I'll stop by sometime when you're back.
It's called ABC Coffee. Do you know it?
I think I do. I've seen the branding before. Customers seem to like it. I'll stop by in the spring if you're around.
Please do, Frank. Frank, isn't it?
It is. Antonio had been studying my name card when we were at the red light. I pulled into the heavy glare of the parking bay outside the terminal. Switch on the overhead light and switch off the meter. It says 49, but give me 45. That's the flat rate.
Well, Frank, thanks very much. And come over for a freebie sometime in February and I'll be there.
She hands me 50 and I give her back 5 change. You're gonna need this more than I am, even if it's for your pint now.
Cheers, Frank. Take good care.
You too. Have an amazing time. And I'll see you for some coffee. Sorry I didn't help you with the bag. You okay to grab it?
Of course. You stay put.
And that's my first customer of 2014 ticked off. It's busy behind me. There's a steady flow of holiday makers who need to be set down, but I sit for a few minutes and let the engine tick over. It hits me hard, there and then. Antonia reminds me so much of a younger me. I sounded like she sounded. I talked to people the way that she spoke to me, and I had the same ambitions for travel. I begin to crawl away, and Antonio has long since walked past the smoking area and through the terminal doors. 10 minutes later, I turn into a Premier Inn car park as the sun is peeking over the downs in front of me and switch the engine off. The cab breathes and falls silent. I take off my prosthetic and follow suit, doing all I can to stop myself from sobbing. This is the bittersweetness of human interaction. This is the bittersweetness of beginning a new year. Die, 0. Live, 1. Sleepers Bar, Newlands Avenue, Hull, 14th of November, 2006. Where did I leave you? It was Halloween. I was looking out over Hull from the 6th floor of the library, daydreaming about Sybil. Another 2 weeks have gone by, and here's how the night unfolded. Me, Chris, and Liam started the night at the Gardener's Arms on Cottingham Road, where they sell glasses of house wine for just £1.49 to students.
They also have 2 pool tables towards the back of the pub, And despite the non-stop coming and going of groups such as ours, the tables are well kept and therefore very playable.
This is where we tend to spend our weeknights. The sympathetic prices allow us to buy another meal on our way home, or perhaps even an eighth of weed. Or, if 3 of us go all in, then we purchase all of the above. Halloween fell on a Tuesday, so all the student deals applied and we were stood there, lightly kicking our cues around the table and playing a slow game of killer, when out of the gloom walked in, you guessed it, Sybil. Followed by Amy and Sophie, as well as 2 new faces, Louise, and just to change things up, a boy, Richard. Both of whom I recognise from our first semester module, American Film and Society. They walked towards the pool tables holding pints of cider, some of them turning rollies in their hands and all smiling and looking Halloweenish. My first thoughts were, Sybil looks incredible in a half-baked devil outfit. Why is Richard, a boy, with them? And then the most prominent thought, the 3 of us hadn't dressed up. We looked ordinary and dull by comparison. That thought vanished just as soon as it had arrived, when the 5 of them parked up on the high stools next to our table and continued chatting and drinking. The 3 of us looked at each other, raised our eyebrows and smiled. It was Liam's turn to break, so I took the opportunity to walk my glass of tasteless red to where Sybil was sitting and plonk it down there behind her on the shelf. Then, as I was about to chalk up, she turned around, and she was suddenly there. So close, we could touch hands.
Hey.
And there it was. She said hey to me. And for the first time, I heard her musical southern accent lilting and bright above the drag of Set Fire to the Third Bar by Snow Patrol.
You're in some of my seminars, aren't you? It's Frank, isn't it?
Hey to you too. I hope you don't mind me leaving my wine there. Yes, it's Frank. And yes, I think we're in American history, Birth of a Nation together. And your name is Sybil?
Yes, that's it. Good to meet you, Frank. Where are you going tonight? You're not dressed up.
It has just dawned on me, pardon the pun, that the 3 of us haven't made much of an effort at all.
Well, if you don't have any plans, then there's a casual Halloween thing at Sleeper's Bar from about 10. We're all going there. You should come. I'll lend you my horns.
And with that, she laughed, and I laughed, and she simply turned around to carry on chatting with her friends. She was even more alluring up close than I had imagined. Brown eyes, almost black, complemented the long eyelashes. I looked back at Liam and Chris, and again we raised our eyebrows and grinned. And here I am, in Sleeper's Bar, 2 weeks later, Brighton. We didn't bump into Sybil and her friends on Halloween in the end. Liam and Chris wanted to get stoned instead, but in this week's American History Birth of a Nation seminar, I will endeavour to speak to Sybil again and hope that she can overlook our no-show. The most memorable moment from the remainder of the evening was listening to the Misfits version of Monster Mash at a small wine bar close to home and moshing with an impromptu group of 10 other students. I was exactly where I wanted to be in the world. Brighton Dome, Jubilee Street, 12th of January 2014. It's been 10 days since I said goodbye to Antonio. And predictably, it's taken me 10 days of patchy, slow-moving work for the world to reveal the next encounter that left any sort of impression on me and made me want to pick up the pad and pen. Such is January, uneventful and drab. I've thought about Antonio several times since then, as I've passed through Brighton Station, waiting in line, shooting the breeze with the other drivers. I spent the remainder of January 2nd and also the evening of January 4th watching Apocalypse Now, and then, to round out my Vietnamese content, Taxi Driver. Where will Antonio be now? I pick out the elongated shape of the country on Google Maps, studying the way it curls around Laos and Cambodia, the way it pushes up on China and then releases itself into the sea at the southern tip below Ho Chi Minh. Where will she be? I zoom in, conjuring up images of Dalat, the jungle, Nha Trang, the beach, and then the capital, Hanoi. It looks like a country worthy of visiting, and Antonio seemed like the type of person who deserves an enlightening, life-affirming trip. This afternoon, parked on the sheltered north side of the eye-catching Brighton Dome towers, I'm flicking a ballpoint pen at the Times crossword. IJKLMN. 5 letters. All I can think about is answering this instantly, and nothing comes to mind. It's going to take some real thought.
A bloke stumbles over from the Black Horse pub across the street.
Keeping in mind that this is a day shift, just before 2 p.m. This gentleman is having to be helped along his way by a stranger who happened to be walking past. He just about manages the door, dressed in a grey pinstripe suit with scuffed brown brogues and a flowery pink neck scarf. He wears thick lens glasses and has a dappled, wafting comb-over. He plonks himself down in the front seat and begins, yeah, in a way to me, making no sense and not responding with anything coherent when I ask him where he's heading. At last, after composing himself, he spits out that he needs to use a cash machine. No cash on you at all, sir?
Yeah.
He needs an ATM. There's just one across the street near Tesco. Can he make it there, or shall we all go together? Yeah, again. He seems to understand, so I swing my legs out and walk over to help him out the door. He's fragile, light, and still unsteady on his feet. We limp our way across the narrow road back the way he came and towards Tesco. Then, just as we're about to turn the corner onto Jubilee Street, he begins walking into the Wagon and Horses, another pub which is as close to the Black Horse as another pub could be without being next door. Miraculously, he can walk again. He moves away from my helping hand and begins accelerating away from me. He's muttering away to himself as he steps inside. I'm speechless, but follow him into the doorway nonetheless with intrigue, trying to think back to the crossword clue. 5 letters. IJKLMN.
He's shuffling up to the bar, and I catch his elbow. There's no way they're going to serve you now. Everyone in here was watching us through the windows.
He pauses for a second, turns back to me, puts his index finger up to his mouth and lets out a huge...
Shh.
The 5 or 6 people in the pub and the 2 bar staff are floored and begin laughing. This is my cue to leave. He's wasted 5 minutes of my afternoon, a possible job, and if not, blissful crossword time. Luckily, after a further 5 minutes and after quickly solving the clue, another person approaches the cab. Just before they have the chance to sit down, I notice a small piece of paper on the passenger seat. 23 Kemp Street. Of course. Yeah, man's address. He was ready and prepared to be this drunk at this time, but forgot to hand me the paper. Kemp Street is a short drive from the Dome. I could have taken him home for free. But now I'm on my way to Ditchling Road, and yeah is somebody else's problem. It's heart-wrenching work. It's thirsty work. The answer was water, of course. IJKLMN. H2O. Die 1. Live 1. Home. Newland Avenue, Hull, 7th December 2006. Hello. It's almost Christmas and it's nearly time to head back west for the holiday period. My student digs are a 2 up, 2 down affair on a red brick terrace cul-de-sac, 3 streets off the Newland Avenue thoroughfare. It's a modest little house, drafty, damp in places, but full of warmth when the kettle's on and the curtains are drawn. Neighbours are mostly students, bar the old fella next door who bangs on the wall if anyone plays Kasabian past midnight. It's the kind of street where you know who's smoking what and whose bike's been nicked that week. Living in this humble 19th century house with me, as well as the slugs and snails, is Kelly. Kelly is a red-headed wonder of a woman. Yesterday, she sat and witnessed the following debate between Chris and me on the virtues on the debut album by Arctic Monkeys, which has not only been the rock album of the year, but also the fastest-selling debut album by a UK band in history.
Riot Van is excellent, but When the Sun Goes Down is the most impactful British song since Britpop.
I shall not disagree. I'll throw The View from the Afternoon's hat into the ring, though.
What, as the high point of the record?
Why do you have to categorise things by country?
Yeah, as the best song on the album. The drums.
Good shout. Best video possibly, not best song.
Did I tell you that my cousin was the engineer on the demos for this album?
Yeah, you've mentioned it a few times. Actually, the Riot Van demo wipes the floor with what ended up on the album. Yeah, what did you say again, Kel?
It don't matter. Drink, anyone? It's pre-drinking hour. Or a joint?
A pretty unremarkable, run-of-the-mill discussion for our little house and our little living room on a Thursday night before heading to the student union. The only remarkable feature this week, Sybil Skeets was on the sofas with us, wide-eyed, wide-smiled and giggling at the debate that had erupted around her. We've been on 7 dates, but I'm not really counting. I'll write again soon. West Street, Brighton, 1st of February 2014. As you can imagine, Brighton city centre, like all other city centres, is at its thriving best and loud-mouthed worst on a Saturday night. Particularly on the first Saturday after payday. And to compound the point, it was the first payday of the year for most 9-to-5 workers yesterday. So here we are, in the heart of the West Street storm. And before I head home, it's worth getting these thoughts off my brain and onto the page. Let me just take my prosthesis off, and I'll continue. There is no better microcosm for all that is dubious and less dubious about this beefed-up town come city than West Street. The south-sloping, arterial thoroughfare connects the train station, the city centre itself, and the scene and eruption of life, noise, and hedonism. By day, particularly when the weather is good, the crowds step off the trains and then create human trains of their own. Strangers to the area Google which way to the beach and then set off down the hill towards the postage stamp of a far-off glitter blue horizon that beckons them there. For those new to the town, oh, wait, it's a pebble beach. Never mind. It's also a party place. Sit yourself down on the bumpy ground, open a can and raise your hands to the rusty pier, the smoke and the sky. Weekend days like this always play out in a similar manner for me. Slow-moving traffic, hassle, road rage, short tempers, but if you know where to find it, and I do, guaranteed jobs back and forth all day long. East to west and back, up and down hills to Hanover and Seven Dials, quick runs from the station to the coast, couples returning to Hove. Illicit activities and several requests to keep the car running, please, mate. All standard stuff. In the final throes of last night, having already taken 256 quid on my Saturday shift, I had a quick job which has made me want to pull over and wind down and write it down before home. At 10:53 p.m, a young couple jumped into the cab outside Pier 9, the seafront casino. They both looked in their late 20s, hovering around the 30 mark. He was wearing a short, sleeved blue shirt tucked out with clipped, greasy dark hair and no other distinguishing features. She was blonde, pretty, tanned, and wore a bright white blouse with a floral pattern around the collar. I didn't see what either of them were wearing below the waist. The drive started without an incident. Short utterances I'd heard 100 times.
To the marina, please, pal.
So off we go, east and out of the city. Then as I picked up pace along the Marine Parade, she spoke.
I can't believe you've just lost that much money.
I know, don't please.
How can we afford the bag now?
We're going to the casino.
The casino? Fucking what?
Look, don't do this now. You threw up on me 2 hours ago. I've dropped that.
The fucking casino. After what just happened.
Kirsty, please, let's go win it back. I'll do it. This casino is usually a lucky one for me.
Fuck the throwing up. What about this fucking ring, eh?
I'll replace it. I'll buy it back next week. I've just got paid.
Yeah, and lost half of it.
At this point, Kirsty and, now I know, Lee, are conducting their heated, highly unusual debate in this classic drunken whisper that tries to conceal itself from the driver but cannot help but grow louder and louder, and therefore fails at whispering. Another common trait of this drunken chatter is that there's usually a brief lull before one of the participants finds the impetus from somewhere to carry on the theme of the argument, but with even more vigour. During their brief lull, the road starts to bend south towards the marina. And because it's late on a moody Saturday night, enjoy the silence by Depeche Mode coming through the speakers.
My money was on Lee to wind things back up before we entered the marine car park. I was wrong. The gambling isn't as bad as what you did to me. His voice was reasonably calm. He half moved towards her across the back seat. I catch his words as he turns through the music.
Depeche Mode lyrics overlap faintly. Words like violence, break the silence.
What are you talking about now, Lee?
Kirsty positively shouts back at him, full of spite, and the silence is well and truly broken for Depeche Mode and the three of us.
The green neon Asda sign is to our left as we pull round the corner to the casino, which is where I assume they both want to be, despite Kirsty's protestations.
When Kirsty erupts, pulling her belt towards Lee, he cowers behind me in his seat and simply spits into the window with resignation. You know, the fucking clap. As Dave Garn tells us all, words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm. This is dark comedy. This is the complexity of people. This is not judgment. This is not what a 26-year-old should be witnessing on a regular basis. This is despair. Die. 2. Live. 1.
Headingley, Leeds, 26th of February 2007. Look at how long it's been since I last opened you up and picked up a pen. It's been over 2 months. Well, that isn't strictly true. On Christmas Day, I picked you up, slipped in 2 tickets to see Arctic Monkeys in concert and snapped you tight shut. And here we are. The gig is tomorrow. Wonderful, marvellous. Sybil Skeets had left the 2 tickets in a white envelope on our shabby living room table as we said our goodbyes before leaving Hull for the festive period and returning home to our parents' houses for an agonising 4 weeks apart. The envelope is here too, dog-eared. It simply says, Frankie, in flowing biro on the front and has a single X on the back. It feels ridiculous now to think that tomorrow, the 2 of us will depart from my hometown and head up to Middlesbrough to see the greatest band in the world, without interference or disturbance from anyone else. Opening the envelope alone in my room on Christmas Day, the gesture from Sybil felt lavish compared to the presents that I sent her back down to Kent with. A small, heart-shaped box containing a pair of fluffy socks, a CD copy of Stadium Arcadium by Red Hot Chili Peppers, and a hardback copy of The Catcher in the Rye. On the inside cover of the book, I wrote, Dear Sybil Skeets, I've got you covered. From your small, gorgeous ears down to your sexy toes. Thanks for the past 2 months. I have enjoyed studying you, attending extracurricular Sybil activities, and attending your lectures. You make university and Hull bearable, and then some. Happy Christmas, 2006. Frank E. Sybil had taken to call me Frankie after date number 6, which was a new thing to me. Nobody other than my mum had ever called me anything other than Frank, or Walker, or Walks. It all feels like a flash of brilliance now, 2 months on, our late autumn, early winter romance. For date number 6, I can remember the exact sequence of dates up until about date 9. I took Sybil to a restaurant called Marrakesh on Princess Avenue in Hull, with some of the last of my first instalment of student loan. We sat opposite each other, in the middle of a dozen other dining couples, and had lamb tagines and drank brown bottles of North African beer and giggled and held hands. The bill receipt came to $66.71, which is also here, next to the white envelope. On the slow walk back through the avenues towards my house, she took a step in front of me and said something along the lines of,
Why are you called Frank, anyway?
For the same reason you're called Sybil, I guess.
Which is?
Because that's what our parents decreed.
Oh, decreed. How posh of you. You are a star student.
I can't understand you when you're drunk. Your vowels make no sense to me. You start to sound like something from a Dickens novel.
And you sound like something from Emmerdale.
Now that I cannot deny.
So, Frank?
Frank was my mum's choice. She really liked an old footballer called Frank McClintock when she was growing up. It stayed with her until I came along.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
Has she ever apologised to you as an adult for that decision?
How dare you? You southern princess.
Sybil laughed and danced in front of me, in fake black fur and black heels.
And kept laughing. And then kissed me. A deep kiss that said to me we would make it together in this city and around these streets.
From now on, I will call you Frankie.
And she has. I'll report on the Arctic Monkeys gig when I'm back in Hull next week. Back in the land of students and essays and slug trails. Brunswick Square, Hove, 17th of March 2014. I'm sat looking down to the sea, considering February and March and all that has happened this year. It's just about 5 in the afternoon. So even though it's a Friday and today has steadily ticked over with work, I have a brief window to write. The last 4 or 5 weeks have passed by without incident since I last felt like picking up the moleskin. Even hustling, bustling Brighton calms down for a while at the end of winter, as Christmas expenditure catches up with the bank balance. Yesterday, I parked up in the lanes and took myself to ABC Coffee to see if Antonia was back from her travels. Alas, she was not. The staff member happily informed me that she had extended her holiday, that she'd be back soon, and that she would pass on my regards. I told her that I was pleased to hear that she was doing well, that the coffee was excellent, and that I would pop back in soon. I'm mildly annoyed that I've missed Antonia, as occasions when I park up in the middle of the city and walk any real distance are few and far between. It's a hassle. It draws attention to my hobble, and it can be painful. But interactions like this, Antonio's well-trained staff member, trump all of that. The spirit of the city, of coffee culture, of artistic freedom, of expressive individuals with hopes and dreams is alive and well. But then, last night, a drunken Australian offered me the illicit services of his female friend in exchange for a lift free to Crawley. So, high and low, good and bad, continue to greet me as I go about my business. Life hangs in the balance. My ongoing tallying up is a weighing scale of chance. Back to today. Just over an hour ago, whilst parked in this very same spot and looking down towards the sea, my peaceful contemplation of the skyline was disturbed by William at 4:07. I know his name is William because he said it twice during the first of 2 phone calls that he made on the way to town.
Hello, chap. Can we go to town, please? Via a cash point.
Of course, let's go.
William was already sat down behind me. The tone of his voice suggested he was in a hurry. I pressed the digital display, a prolonged beep, and the red LED lights tells us we're off.
The way he entered the car, his mannerisms, the strong smell of aftershave. This is going to be an intriguing job. Any particular cash point you have in mind? Any drop-off point in the city?
I'll just make a quick phone call and then I'll let you know.
He's already dialing. Stop-start along Western Road, heading east, so I looked again. William was at the tail end of his 40s. I guess about 6'3" and imposing. Broad shoulders, slicked back hair. I noticed when he walked away from me later that he had also had a slight limp from a crooked left knee. Ah, a kindred spirit.
Hello? What do you mean, who is it? It's me? Or didn't my name flash up on your phone? Of course it did. Sorry? I'm still your husband. What am I saved as in your phone? Anyway, I brought the dogs with me. Yes, I knew you wouldn't like it, but I left before you had a chance to come home to discuss it. They're happy, yes, yes. I've taken them along the beach for a trot already. Yes. Yes. This evening I'm having a quiet night. There's a curry already simmering away. I'll be back on Sunday morning. What? At home? I'm not sure, but I left you a bottle of wine in the fridge. Okay? No problem. Bye, bye.
Phone call number 1, over in less than 2 minutes.
Can you go up to the 7 Dials and I'll go to the cash point there, please, chap?
Of course, good shout.
I pull in around Montpellier Crescent and keep the meter running while he runs across to the cash point just off the roundabout. His words to his wife are fizzing in my ears. The clipped sentences, the staccato yes, yes, yeses, the pace and punch. When he gets back in the car, he's on to phone call number 2, but stops to bark directions at me before we set off back down to the city.
1 second, pal. Sorry, driver, could we go to Kemptown, please?
Of course. St. James Street.
Yes, anywhere. Phil! Yes. Can you hear me? It's William Ellis. Jesus, man, well, step outside then. Yes, I'll wait.
Traffic is slow through the city as commuters push to get to the nearest pub and meet friends for Friday drinks. William is on hold. So is the car.
Phil? Okay. Hello. Is the girl working? You know, the girl? The blonde? Yes, okay. Great. I'll be in soon and then I'll stay for a while. Actually, drink beforehand. I'm on St. James's Street now. The plotting parlour. My round. Bye, chap.
We are indeed on St. James Street now. I turn left under George Street and pull over. 1470, thanks. William hands me a £20 note and leaves without a goodbye. Shame. He seems like the type of person I'd like to get to know. Die. 3. Live. 1.
Harrogate District Hospital, 3rd of March 2007. Dear Frankie, my Frankie, I'm writing this to you, but I have said it to you too. I promise I've said it all. Everybody keeps telling me to talk, and I will, until I know you can hear me. And then keep going until you can talk back. For now, this will do. One day soon you will read these words. Your brother has just dropped off some of our things over to the ward, including whatever could be salvaged from your car. You must know how good of him it was to go to the police lockup alone and collect them. I've told him that. Your moleskin survived. And so did your beloved Leeds air freshener. And so did you. So did we. The doctors have told me that you won't remember anything about what happened from a certain point onwards. There are details I won't share here. But in time you might be curious. Because I can remember everything. The shock of what happened is still in my bones. In my nerves. It's making my hand shake now as I quickly scribble. Unlike me, you look incredibly still. You look, well, like you. The Yorkshire boy who's stolen my heart. I just grabbed some water and now I'm just going to stay quiet for a while with you. Your curly-haired upper chest rises and falls. Your lovely pale abdomen expands and contracts. The rest of you is still. It's hard to watch such an active person be this sedentary. Your face is really busy with stubble now. I'm not sure you'd like it that long. And your hair also needs cutting. I'll ask somebody to help me with that soon. You're beginning to look like Sean Bean instead of your usual Viggo Mortensen. Makes you look a little older and tired. But you must be tired. I am too. I'll stay here until I can't stay any longer, or when somebody tells me to leave. But before then, you will wake up. Below your neckline on your arms and shoulders, you have superficial cuts and bandages and plasters and creams and gels. But it's still you. Your fingernails are too long now, though. I will ask for help with that too. The day you wake up, you'll notice that and you won't abide it. Remember when you took me to that Moroccan restaurant and you were put off by the waiter's hands and nails? That was the best date I've ever been on. Nobody else has made me feel like that. Your smile that night and the next morning. There are machines and humming all around us. Nobody else is here. The next person who writes in here will be you. And Frankie, you will keep writing forever. I want you to know that I was here and that I always knew you'd come back. All my love. Sybil.
Hove Lawns, Brighton and Hove, 21st of April 2014. That's enough of looking back. It's time to look forward and continue on our wandering, taxi-driving path to fate. You've peered into my past enough for now. But before I carry on writing, I ask you, what do you think of Sybil? What do you think of how she writes? Her tone of voice? She was mesmerising, like nobody else I'd ever met before back then. I'm glad I included those old pages here, so you could see that. Today was a tricky day for the die column of my morbid tally chart. More than any other day since I started tracking my memorable encounters. Today feels like a day to live. At this very moment, as I sit looking at the last of the sun moving over the pretty seafront buildings in Hove, I can see the value in living, of continuing. Iris booked me over the phone a day before I picked her up from her home in Ditchlin, a picturesque village on the South Downs, 20 minutes out of town. I was curious when they handed the job over. She'd also pre-booked her return trip, exactly 2 hours later. 5:30 at her door, set down on Hove Lawns, pick up at 7:30. It would cost her about 40 quid, a good way for me to wind down a slow April Monday. I knew her name before I arrived at her door, and whatever preconceptions that attached to that name were broken as I watched her walk from her front door to the back seat, along her modest garden path. Iris was indeed an Iris, but young, about my age, short, dressed in dark clothes, ripped jeans at the knee and a floaty slate grey t-shirt, folded at the shoulders. And she'd had a shimmering ginger bob, piercing dark eyes, almost black, and a pinched, pierced pixie nose. We didn't talk much until we got back over the top of Ditchlin Beacon and towards the coast. The radio was on low, the traffic was minimal. I knew that I'd be picking Iris up again later. And because I found her strikingly pretty, I felt like chancing my arm. What takes you down to Hove and back this evening, Iris?
How do you know my name?
You gave it to the people in the office along with your booking.
Oh, yes, of course.
An endearing laugh. And then silence. Until...
Oh, sorry, I'm going down there to swim, actually.
Really? At this time of the year?
I know. I'm nervous. But this is the best weather we've had all year, and the swimming conditions look okay.
How warm or cold will the sea be?
It's not too bad for April. I guess we're almost in May anyway, right?
Her voice was changing, from nervy to animated. Her smile lit up too as I looked at her through the mirror and smiled back. We moved over the A-Roads and towards Preston Park.
What's your name? I can't quite read your ID.
It's Frank.
Oh, hi, Frank. It's an unusual name for someone your age, isn't it?
I guess so. But then, so is Iris.
Well, welcome to Brighton.
Exactly. As we moved steadily past the park and pubs and petrol stations and up the hill towards Dyke Road, a silence came over the car again. I was beginning to feel the same old nerves around strangers I've felt for years now, ever since the accident. But then...
Frank, can I tell you something?
Of course. What is it? Does the taxi smell?
No. Can I tell you something kind of serious? I haven't been able to discuss it with anyone all day. Well, I haven't seen anyone today, really, beside the post office people.
Oh, yes, of course then. Tell away.
Well, I am going for a swim. But it's not just because the weather's pretty good or because the sea's warm enough for me to not look like a crazy woman.
Oh, okay.
It's because every year I come down to the seafront to swim on this day. In fact, I used to live on the seafront, pretty much. Not hidden away up there in the country.
Ah, okay. So it's a shrine to your former life before you moved inland?
No. 5 years ago, on this day, well, my life changed on this beach.
Okay. In Hove? The sea? We were almost in Brighton now, moving through traffic lights down the drive towards the beach. There was an urgency in Iris's tone, as well as hesitancy, all in one.
It was on the beach. The weather was like this, warm for April. I was with my boyfriend at the time and 2 friends. His name was Alex.
What happened? By the way, shall I turn left here?
Yes, here is fine. Opposite the hotel? Anyway, if you're interested.
I am interested, for sure.
We had a really drunken night on the beach. The 4 of us had been drinking all day. A standard beach barbecue evening. Messy. We smoked a joint. Alex wasn't very good to me. Not all bad, but we were not good. In fact, we were horrific. Puppy love gone wrong and all that.
I'm going to pull over here, but I am listening.
You must think I'm bonkers, but you seem like a nice guy. He did this to me.
Oh, Iris, I'm sorry.
He burned me. Badly burned the barbecue coals. This is what's left of my waist.
Fuck. That sounds horrific.
He pressed them down on me. When the others were in the sea. When nobody was around. I pushed him and slapped him, but he wasn't there. His mind wasn't there. His eyes were not his own. He pressed the whole tray against me. I had a bikini on, you see. He held it here.
Iris, I want to give you a hug.
It's okay. Listening to me is enough. That's the reason I come down here. On this day, my life changed. I ran into the sea. It was too late by the time he let go, and I managed to push myself away. It was too late for my skin. I stayed in the sea for what felt like hours.
You did the right thing.
Yeah. I lost a lot of myself that night. But I'm building myself back up. I can't believe it's been 5 years. 5 swimming anniversaries. Oh, you must think I'm so strange talking to you about this and going swimming in April.
Nothing is strange to me. I'm a taxi driver. By the way, I've stopped the meter.
Such an outpouring of trauma for a Monday evening, isn't it? Frank, can I ask you a question now that I've told you something so private?
Yes, of course. You may as well go the whole hog.
Well, what are you doing? Well, now.
I was going to spend several minutes contemplating what you just said and then drive back up to Hove and sit on a rank.
Would you like to come swimming with me?
What? Now?
Yeah. Just for a while, it would mean a lot. In all honesty, I'm not a confident swimmer.
That was 4 hours ago. But my arm is hurting, and it's time to think about going home. I'll tell you what happened next soon. Harrogate District Hospital, 13th of March, 2007. I'm alive. I survived. Most of me did anyway. Sybil's beautiful words before this only tell half the story. It's been 2 weeks now and I can write a little. You're a little damaged too, Moleskin. But you're still going. On the way home from the Arctic Monkeys gig, my little Fiat Punto aquaplaned. We hit a road sign near Ripon. They told me my left leg was beyond saving. They took it out just below the knee. A clean cut, they said, to stop the infection spreading. Who was there when I woke up? Sybil, of course. Without her, I'd be even less than I am now. My phantom limb is here to stay. But we'll see the Arctic Monkeys again. This time, properly. Hove Lawns, April 21st, 2014. My right arm is rested now, and I've just done another quick job from Hove Lawns to Rottingdean, out east of Brighton. I've driven back here to finish up my journal entry and unwind before bed. Here's where you left me and Iris. Wow. It's amazing of you to ask that. I'm not a confident swimmer either. Well, I used to be, but I'm not anymore.
If you don't want to, Frank, I totally understand. Like I said, you must think I'm crazy.
The rush hour traffic sped past us and rattled the taxi heading west towards Shoreham and Worthing. I grabbed my left thigh. I'll need a towel, but I'll swim with you. Yeah, why not? It's the sort of thing I used to do, and need to do more often. Before then, Iris, I've something to tell you. For the first time since Iris sat on the back seat, I turned to look at her. Pixie-like, pretty. Her face pale and soft, her eyes dark as can be.
What is it, Frank?
I also have a body part that's changed. Below my knee here, it's a prosthesis.
Oh. Really? I had no idea. Wait, the blue badge on your dashboard.
Yes, all bluey. I just keep it there all the time. Most people don't clock it from the back seat.
Well, Frank, you're still handsome.
Is that a sleight of hand so we stop talking and get moving? Iris laughed. We both laughed. There was no more talking to do for now. We had to get moving before the temperature dropped and the light faded. We walked together, slowly, to the nearest shop for a towel, and then onto the Hove seafront pebbles. There are very few people around, certainly nobody else swimming along the stretch where we'd pitched our towels. Dog walkers in spring coats, a paddle boarder or two. We changed in a hurry, absurdly, as strangers. Iris quickly came accustomed to my phantom limb, offering a hand to help me discard my clothes. She wore a full-body bikini that showed faint traces of scars across her ribs, and my boxer shorts were sturdy enough to pass as trunks. I left Wizard on the beach and off we padded together towards the sea. We gasped and then laughed as the water lapped our waists, and then we dropped. As dead weights, we fell and submerged ourselves, gasping, panting, until the shock subsided. We dog paddled around each other, and the salt of the channel became a buoy. We kicked away, cleared our mouths, brushed back our hair. 10 metres out to sea we could stand. I could balance on one foot, or hop, or float, or stare skywards. Iris stood and let the breakers lap against her midriff and chest. Quietly to herself, she looked back to land, arms outstretched as if opening herself to it. I watched her in profile, delicate, interesting, and the streaks of makeup on her cheeks made her even more beautiful. We were mad. A madness had come over us. Delirium. That childlike hyperactive response to cold. We faced each other. The huge light to the west, towards the tip of England and out to the Atlantic, was a shattered bar of York. The Sussex Sea, a lilting turquoise. We stood and swayed together, alone in the water, and told each other everything about our differences, which we called our uniqueness, and Iris called our superpowers. We said things we hadn't said out loud to anyone in years, until we were too cold to go on. Our chests frozen to the touch, our teeth beginning to chatter. And now that I've taken Iris home and recounted the greatest night of my 20s to you, the salt has dried across my body and in my hair. It's time to finally go home and take a long shower. Die 3, live 2. Headingley, Leeds, 12th of July 2007. Look how long it's been this time. I've neglected you. Had nothing to say, really. Been far more interested in TV, video games, eating, drinking, surfing the internet. But I promised myself I'd write this down, make some sense of the last few months, put words to what the hell it's like getting on after losing a limb. The family have said it help, so here goes. The first couple of weeks were very rough. Flat out bedbound, laying there like a sack, and the pain, like a whole orchestra of wrong notes going off round my head. They pumped me full of painkillers. Infection checks were constant. You can't afford any muck-ups when you're missing half a leg. After those weeks stuck in bed, I could move around a bit. In a wheelchair, of course. The physios came by, clipboard in hand and a smile. They had me doing exercises that seemed daft at first. Stretches and twists, lifting bits here and there. That's when I learned about stump shaping, which I didn't realise was so serious. Compression therapy, they call it. Wrapping up what's left to get it strong and smooth. Not just for the fitting, but to toughen up the skin. They warned me about phantom pain. I didn't believe it at first. You got to train the brain to accept it. Find ways to quiet it down when it decides to show up. By the 3-month mark, I was ready to try prosthetic. The trial kind. A temporary one they swap out once your leg settles into its new shape. Relearning everything you thought you knew about walking. There's the mental side too. I've had some very dark days. They don't sugarcoat it. They tell you right off it's as much about your head as your leg. Now, 4 months on, I've got the permanent leg sorted and I'm back on my feet. It's slow, but the progress is there. Bit by bit. I can't run, jump, or anything daft, but just standing here is a start. But as I sit here and scribble, I can't help but notice a distance growing between Sybil and I. After 4 months of her unwavering support, her attention's beginning to wane.
It feels different now. Less like we're a team, more like I'm an obligation to tend to.
Lately, she usually arrives with her friends, all smiles and laughter. But something's off. While they joke and chat, I can't shake this paranoia that she's putting on a show for them. I'm certainly not ready to let go. But I fear she might be. Home, May 1st, 2014. It's the early hours of Friday, May Day, 2 a.m. I'm slouched on my bed on the floor of my small bedroom. One good leg outstretched, my phantom limb resting on the cool bedding, and Wizard, the prosthesis, on the floor. We're nearing the end now. The final month of my experiment is upon us. Where do we stand? Pardon the pun. At 11:57 p.m, just as the pubs were kicking out, I was waiting for that last good run of the night, resting on a rank on Jubilee Street in the heart of Brighton. A young bloke opens the back door.
Queen's Park, okay?
An odd request, missing out the please or thank you, but not unheard of. Whereabouts near Queen's Park are we going then? Long pause while he texts.
Actually, I'm going to need a cash point.
No problem, but I need to know our end destination too.
Why?
Red flag. Last thing at night. Young lad, no money. Heading to a dimly lit area of the city. Could be a runner. I just need to call it into office. This is my last job. I've got those lines rehearsed. They make no sense, but they sound formal enough.
Well, do you know the Hanover pub?
I do.
There, please. Via a cash point. How much will that be?
There's a cash point at the top of Southover Street, and the pub's 2 minutes away. You can jump out there. I reckon 8 or 10 quid total. No response. Just the steady clicking of his thumbs on the screen as we climb one of the steepest hills in the area. Second gear, humming. By the time we pull over outside the cash point, close to the Islingwood Inn, he's already got his hand on the door handle. This is going to be a runner. 3 options. Lock the doors, talk him round, or let him go. It's late, not a huge fare, and I can't face the hassle. I let him go. And with that, he's out like a shot. As he passes the driver's side, he says,
Wait here.
which makes no sense, because he runs straight past the cash point and across the main road into the darkness of Queen's Park. He's not coming back. I know that. Probably not a bad lad. Maybe a skint student. Desperation will make anyone stupid for £8.55. Still, he's gone. And I'm parked, alone, out of town. A steady stream of pub goers trudge past me down the hill. If I wait long enough, I might get one last run. I reach into the glove box for you. My pad, my pen, and I look across the street, towards the tree line, the blackness of the park. These hours belong to vixens. They'll be slipping out of the hedgerows about now. But it's not a fox that emerges. It's him. Mr. X. And he's running again, staggering hard, across the road, back towards me. Fuck. What now? Where I didn't lock the doors to hold him in earlier, I do now, to keep him out.
Help!
3 finger slides of blood paint the window. I hesitate.
Please, help me!
He can't breathe.
The padded black jacket he's wearing is slashed at the belly, bulging with foam. He's holding himself there, panting against the glass. Through the wing mirror, youthful face, fresh haircut, breath fogging the window, sweat, blood on white scalded paint. My cue to breathe too. But slowly. Let's go.
He doesn't sit. He falls, collapsing across the seats, but he manages to shut the door.
And in one motion, it's keys, mirrors, foot down. We're outside A&E at the Royal Sussex County Hospital in less than 3 minutes. It only takes another 3 for Mr. X to vanish from my life. Just as fast as he entered it. What came next took far longer. My car, gone for examination. No compensation. No £8.55. No apologies. Just a silent lift home in a police car at 1:43 a.m. 2 days off the road minimum. My brain hurts. My stump aches. May the month of May pass quickly. Die. 4. Live. 2.
Malmaison Hotel, Oxford, 25th of August, 2007. I fear that it's all over for me and Frank. It feels like we're approaching the end of our deep, tumultuous relationship. Frank would say we're hobbling towards it with dark humour. But sat here in an empty hotel room, all I feel is that we're fizzling away, and I'm all alone. I'm not sure if I should have expected anything else, after everything that's happened. Frank has said to me more than once that I deserve better, and that I didn't sign up for this life. And today, for the first time, I'm starting to agree with him. There has been suffering like nothing I've ever felt. There has been compromise. That's not to say there has not been explosive, meaningful love and joy. As I pulled into the station yesterday, I even had a belly full of those same old butterflies I felt fluttering in the seminar rooms in Hull. We agreed to meet here in Oxford. Easy enough for me from Kent, and not too far down the M1 for Frank's parents to drop him off and drive him home again the same day. Just about. I think they were relieved to be having a couple of days away from Frank, and everything that comes along with his rehab at home. We'd fantasised about weekends away before the accident, and even since. Harrogate was on the list, cruelly so. So was Stratford-upon-Avon, Norwich came up too, and Oxford. We'd both read on Chesil Beach while Frank was still rehabbing in hospital. We both loved it. The bittersweetness of it, the burst of love between the protagonists, the ache of it all by the end. So here we are, the Malmaison Hotel, set inside an old prison. Apt, Frank said, of course. I'm still here. In bed, not behind bars, but trapped. Frank's gone.
I can't do this to you anymore, Sybil. I'm leaving. Help me to the lobby.
But yesterday evening, he was very much still here. We just tried and failed to have sex for the second time that day. The first attempt was that morning, after weeks apart over the summer. It didn't take long for us to throw back the covers and explore each other's bodies after first hugging deeply in the room. We put the failure down to the excitement. Nerves rolled into one. Nothing that Oxford's architecture and a lunchtime beer in the Ivy wouldn't cure. Only it didn't. There was something other than the day itself going unsaid, and in every room. Frank has just messaged me now saying he had asked a friend on the south coast to come and meet him in London. I didn't even know he had a friend down there. I thought I knew almost everything about him. It's time for me to pack up, check out, and head back to Kent. There I have a lot of thinking to do. It's helped to write this down. Thank you.
Home, May 31st, 2014. We're approaching the finale. It's the end of May. The last Saturday in May. If all goes to plan, there's only 1 month remaining until this pen logs my fate. We've come so far together, reader. But there's still a little way to go. The end to any meaningful journey is only reached by taking those last painful steps. The last knockings of Saturday and into Sunday morning. Palmyra Square, Hove. She climbed in like she was in or just out of danger. This is the window of time in my weeks when people are often a little lost. Good evening, or good morning, I should say.
Hey.
She gave me a smile, but I could tell by the way she hugged herself that she was struggling. Seemingly no handbag, no phone, just breathing. You okay, girl? Where are you going?
Just to town, please.
She nodded once. A nervous tick. She needed to be away from here. And at that moment, so did I. So towards the city we drove. The drop-off point would become clear later. Every now and then, it is like you see in the films. Just drive. Looking at her through the window, her head flopped against the glass. I could see strands of hair stuck to her cheeks, a smudge on her shirt, blood, perhaps, signs of a sinister evening. Like the request to just drive, these signs were not out of the ordinary. Blood, spit, food, vomit, the lot. I see it all. It's all part and parcel. I live amongst the stains and the sick and the vulnerable. There was something different here, though. I had to meet this young girl tonight. So it seemed.
Pretty, angelic even, pale, exhausted under the lamplight of Western Road.
I wanted to say 10 things all at once, to open a dialogue like I had done with Iris. Oh, Iris. I must return her call. This passenger could be Iris. A little younger, yes, but just as fragile. She was blinking and still twitching as we approached Churchill Square in the distance. And suddenly...
Just here, please.
She reached into her pockets for something that wasn't there. Don't worry. It's nothing. Take care of yourself.
Without another word, she was out and turning up Regent Hill, walking as if on broken feet.
Padding until she was swallowed by a Saturday in the city. I sat there, quiet, suddenly hungry and exhausted myself, salt needed, sleep, until the pull of eventual getting home made me push on. Back along Western Road, heading to where we just came from. I'll do it all again, won't I? Who's next? There's inertia from somewhere, even just for one more pickup and then home. To take off my phantom limb, to rest for a long time. The darkness ahead, the horizon is clouds and seagulls and the huge western sky. Headlights, streetlights, takeaways, people falling into the road again and again and again. Their names, Roses, Ellens, Olives, Pauls, Rowans, Peters. This endless night. The digital display says 1 minute past midnight. It's Sunday. The month of May is over. Soon I'll have a conclusion to face. The conclusion to end all conclusions. Until then, surely there is a job up ahead to be had somewhere before home. Die. 5. Live. 2.
Brighton Station, September 19th, 2014. A glorious Friday morning. Frank Walker is concentrating hard on the Times crossword. He's 3 cars from the front of the taxi rank. The queue's moving quickly, but he's engrossed in a clue. A tough one. He's only had 1 coffee today, from ABC Coffee, of course. He tries to only go there now, when he's on the road. Antonio's back from their travels, and they've become friends over the course of a turbulent summer for both of them. The clue.
15 down. A poetic term for life's fragility. Down, poetic, life, fragility.
He's close. He already has 7 across.
Literary genre focused on humanity's transient nature. 6 letters. Elegy. So the common letters E.
He taps his biro on the folded, chunky side of the paper. He's considering the syllable count when...
Brighton SEO, please.
And with that, paper and pen down, and they're off, snaking out of the station gates and into the crawl of Queen's Road. He hasn't paid much attention to the passenger by the time they reach the first lights. Too busy resetting the meter and flipping down the sun visor against the startling September day. Brighton SEO is a busy 2-day marketing conference at the Brighton Centre. Good fares, late summer boost, stop-start traffic. Frank pushes his rearview mirror to get a better look. And there she is.
Hello, Frank.
Of course it's her. Sybil Skeets. As his whole body and mind stand still for a split second, all he can think of is, of course you're here. There you are.
Hello.
She looks back at him through the mirror, half smile, long fawn lashes blinking. He looks once, twice, then ahead. Silence carries them through the junctions and onto West Street. Then he swings right down the back of the conference centre so she can avoid the heavier seafront traffic. He pulls over halfway down Russell Road, lets the engine rumble, lets silence fill the cab. They sit. He fidgets. His palm slides down his left leg towards his knee. He looks again into the mirror. She's still staring, not at the back of his head, but into his eyes, through the glass. He looks away, stops the meter. Maybe there are tears forming in her eyes. He can't be sure. He doesn't speak. There's nothing to say. It's nearly 10 a.m. The SEO talks will be starting soon. Sybil opens the door, steps out with her small case. The click of her heels fades along the pavement. She doesn't offer to pay. She doesn't need to. He doesn't look back. He doesn't need to. Frank Walker takes a deep breath and sits. He thinks. He reminisces. It hasn't all been a failure, has it? These last 7 years. Snapshots blink through his mind and vanish again. Whole years of his life, passing in the time it takes 1 car to drive by. He thinks of his family back in Yorkshire. He looks at his Leeds air freshener. He could look back to see if she's turned the corner. Instead, he picks up the paper and pen.
A poetic term for life's fragility. Fuck. I'm getting this before I move.
But he can't sit still for long. He's got to drive up to Ditchling Village to pick Iris up. Things have been moving fast for them since they met in April. So much so that today, on this most alluring of Brighton September days, they've got an appointment at a local jeweller in the South Lanes. They've been falling in love for 6 months now, and what a 6 months it's been. They're not in a rush to get engaged, but a huge romance has rushed through them all summer with the arrival of the Fringe Festival, the tourist season, the sunbathing afternoons, Brighton Pride. They've devoured everything. The city has pushed them along to this moment. The crossword nags at him.
Life's fragility. 8 letters, beginning with E. E. F. It's an F sound. Got it.
It's time to pull away, head towards Iris. He'll fill in the crossword answer later, after the appointment, as his night shift begins to slow. Life is indeed poetic and fragile, he thinks, but for now, it's time for Frank Walker to put down his pen and pad for a while and begin to live. Phantom Limb was written, directed and produced by Christy Hall. All voices were performed by Molly Hockham and Matthew Doocey. Sound design and mixing by Daniel Davies. Phantom Limb is dedicated to Andrew Parr, my best friend and brother, who can read but often chooses to listen, and he's been listening to me for 25 years. Please know I will always listen to you if you need an ear. A huge thank you to Molly, Matthew and Dan. The enthusiasm, expertise and warmth you've brought to this project has made it what it is. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to witness. Thank you. And thank you to every single person who supported our crowdfunder, all 20 of you. The proceeds will go towards paying the 3 contributors and paying them fairly, with extra special thanks to Rob Reed and Christine Davison. And a special thank you to Jacko Hooper at the Folklore Rooms for supporting the project from the beginning and lending us his facilities. And finally, the biggest thank you to Joanna Hall and Cormac Hall, who always support me.